Hello, good evening, and welcome to Conversations with Segun. Tonight, the 23rd of February, is a fantastic day, and I'm excited to be here, to be live with you here on Conversations with Segun, reaching you live from the city of Warri. The comment section is already buzzing. Who is here? I want to know those that are here. I want to see, I want to welcome you. By the way, my guest for tonight is someone everybody wants to meet. But before I go and talk about him, first things first, go and share the stream with your contact. Let them know that Conversations with Segun is live, and we are live today with the big boss himself. If you don't know him already, Mr. Ben Okotie-Eboh is already here. He's live in the studio, in the green room, chilling and waiting to come on tonight. But I want to see who's watching and where you are watching from. Let me see. I want to know who's here. Let me know you're here. Wow, okay. Delta Event is here. It says, wow, thanks, Segun. Delta Event also says, I can't wait for this. Yes. That's Michael Getty, by the way. He said, I'm the first person to attend to this event. Wow, yes, I saw you. Even before we came live, you were already here, Mike. Welcome. All right, Carlo Balo says, good evening, Segun. This is Carlo right from Abuja. How are you today, Carlo? How's Abuja? Reva, fantastic. We have a lot of people. So, guys, share wherever you're watching from. Share this immediately to your contacts. Let them know that the big boss, Mr. Ben Okotie-Eboh, is already here with us on Conversations with Segun today, and you don't want to miss that. Looking forward to listening for a change. Carlo Balo, yes. He says you are listening from Lagos. My brother is here. Favor Ganagoma says we're anxiously waiting for the big boss. I'm already here. Fantastic. Welcome. All right. So go share with your contacts. Let them know that we are here and we are good to go. I'm ready. I see someone else here. Okay. Yes. Fresh Prince. Yes. These guys are the guys from the big bosses firm. Kudili Uzoig, Fresh Prince says, Fresh Prince here, welcome. That's representing Crown FM. Let all your colleagues know that the big boss is here and is live with us tonight. This is the opportunity for them to ask him that question they've always wanted to ask. Well. What do I say about my guest tonight? I've been talking to him behind the scene, and I've been sharing how fantastic the works he has done this for the few years that I've known him. I think just about a decade of him, coming into Delta to do his business, start his first radio station, Crown FM 89.9, and it changed the landscape of media, changed the landscape of radio industry in Delta State, in Warri, and since that time, it has never been the same again. He did not stop there. He moved on and started almost Nigeria's first Pidgin English station. In fact, the first one to start in Delta State. You all know that Warri indeed is the home of the Nigerian Pidgin English. This guy started the first radio station in the city of Warri that speaks Holy Pidgin. I'm sure many people did not think that would work at the beginning, but today Kpoko FM is the beat of the city of Warri. He didn't stop there. He just moved to the state capital now and started Crown FM in the capital city of Asaba, reaching out to all the southeast states of Nigeria, including most of the Niger Delta state, Benin, Edo State, reaching out to Port Harcourt, Bayelsa, and all the rest. Well, I brought him here today because I'm just favored to be able to get him to come. I'm excited to have him. He's married to Mrs. Tayo Okotie-Eboh, who is a finance and money expert. We had her 2 weeks ago, and graciously, when we had her, we asked Madame to help us get Oga, and today Oga is here. Who is excited? I want to see who is excited. Please put it in the comment section before we bring Oga on. Who is excited? Who is excited? Put it in the comment section. I want to see whatever you're watching from. Put I'm excited in the comment section. Who is as excited as me? I am excited. MC Dave says, woo! I like that. Who else is as excited as me to have Mr. Ben Okotie-Eboh right here in the studio? We've been behind the scene before now. Let me not take any further time. I'm going to bring on the big boss himself, Mr. Ben Okotie-Eboh. to Conversations with Segun. Richard Wanje says, I am excited. Fantastic. Good to see that. All right. We're excited to have the big boss, Mr. Ben Okotie-Eboh. Welcome to the program today, sir. How are you?
I'm very blessed and highly favored, Shago. Thank you so much indeed for having me. This is a great privilege and an honor. I really appreciate it.
I'm excited to always listen to you when you are on radio, when it was Crown FM, when you used to be on air, hearing this voice. Anyone who grew up around here, who has stayed here in the past 10 years would be, would know this voice every time it comes on radio. How are you today, sir? By the way, just take you back again. How are you today?
I'm very blessed. I'm highly favored. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, quick question. The first thing that comes to my mind, by the way, if you have a question for the big boss, please put it in the comment section. We'll be throwing it at him. But first question for you, sir. I know you stayed abroad for a while. You'd worked in radio stations in London. I know you shared that with me sometime on how you used to do stuff with KICC and all the rest. You had a thriving radio program in one of the radio stations. Why did you decide to come back to Nigeria?
Well, Shago, I had been in the UK for about 28 years at the time. I moved to England in 1978. And it just got to a point where I knew that there was something else. Initially, it started back in 1999 when my pastor, Pastor Matthew Shimolowo, who I credit very largely for my being in Nigeria today. And he preached a series of messages where he emphasized the importance of going from being an employee to an employer. And I remember in 1999, we were having a prayer meeting one evening. I was praying in tongues, and all of a sudden, I just burst into English and said, and Lord, I want my status to change. I don't want to be an employee anymore. I want to be an employer. And I stopped at that point, like, where did that come from? What? Because I wasn't thinking about it. I was just praying. I didn't know that I was praying anything to do with my employment status. But after that, I began to really feel a shaking in my spirit that it was time to move. There was more to that than simply being on somebody's payroll. And I was getting a lot of messages that were really telling me that it was time for a change. And then in 2002, I visited Nigeria, and I had this leading to reach out to a sister of mine, Dr. Mrs. Awushika. And, I just felt I had to find her. And no matter how much I tried to give up, I just couldn't. Something kept pushing me to find her. Eventually I did. Now, at that time, I had left my last job in the UK. I was actually doing a syndicated program that was going out in several countries across Africa: Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Tanzania. It was all over. And I was making more money than I was earning when I was in a job. So I was quite happy to just carry on doing that. And the thing is that a lot of people who knew me from what I was doing on the radio in London, who were quite surprised that I was no more on the radio in London, when they met me and said, what are you doing now? And I would tell them I'm on radio in all these countries, and they would be like, wow, well done, good for you. Now, when I met my sister, I thought she was going to say the same thing. I listed all the countries I was on. I thought she was going to say, wow, well done, my brother, I'm very proud of you. Instead, she just looked at me, she shook her head, and she said, you need to get your own radio license. And I was like, come again? And she said, yeah, you need to get your own license. And if you're ready, I can help you if you want to. And I said, okay, no problem. I will go back to England, and I will, I said I would kick it around in my mind, meaning I would go and pray about it. I came back to the UK. The prayer didn't even last a minute. And God was like, oh, yeah, definitely you should do it. So, okay. I had already married my wife by then. And I remember speaking to her and mentioning to her that we might have to move to Nigeria. Now, she was always against the idea of coming to Nigeria. I mean, if you wanted to annoy her, just talk about moving to Nigeria. She'll be like, stop it. This is not funny. I'm not finding this funny. Stop it. So when I mentioned it to her, and she was like, okay, when do we go? Okay, right. So this is definitely God speaking. So if there was one major reason for me to move to Nigeria, it would be that God said move. And once God said move, there was nothing else I could do but move. And the interesting thing, as if to confirm that further, was that a lot of what I was doing at the time, after I left my last job, a lot of it just started to close down. The radio stations that I was on all over Africa, one by one, they were just dropping out. Somebody would take over the radio station, and the first thing they would do is drop my program. The ministries that were behind me, all of them started pulling out one by one. So the whole thing was just collapsing. I was doing itinerant ministry where I was preaching all over Nigeria, and even the invitation started to dry up because really it was time to do this. So that was how I ended up in Nigeria.
So it was purely out of you following the Spirit.
Absolutely, yes. It was doing what I knew that I knew that I knew. Not that anybody gave me a prophecy. It was just doing what I knew that I knew God said I should do. And that's why I came to Nigeria.
Fantastic, fantastic. I know that when that urge and calling for you to come to Nigeria was there was that fear in your mind because you are coming from a structured environment where everything works, and you know that coming to Nigeria to start up, even not just to work for somebody, to start up, you had these various challenges you had to surmount. How was it for you? Because I can tell you, sir, that a lot of persons watching here today want to leave their jobs and start a business. But this fear I'm talking about now of the Nigerian factor, how am I going to start? How is this going to pan out? How were you able to surmount that fear?
The foundation for anything at all that I was going to do in Nigeria had to be God said. That needed to be in place. There was no doing it without that knowing that this is something God said. And, he says his thoughts towards you are thoughts of good, not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. So you know then that wherever you are going, as long as you know that God is leading you to do it, then you know that you have no reason to fear. Now, interestingly enough, long before we started Crown FM, I had actually started coming to Nigeria. Now, the first time I came to Nigeria after I left was in 1998. And then I came back in 1999 with my wife. We got married. And then, after I left my job, I started coming. I didn't even know I was coming to Nigeria then. But, I started coming to Nigeria, every now and again I would come. And I came to understand that was God preparing me, because really the fear you talk about was definitely there. I mean, anybody who knew me when I first came to Nigeria from 1998 would know that I was in serious bondage. I mean, I would come to Nigeria, I would never stay more than a week. And in that time I was in Nigeria, I would be in my house, but I must be in my house by 7 o'clock in the evening, because I just had this fear that anytime after 7 o'clock, some terrible thing's going to happen to me.
You're not safe.
Exactly. There was always that fear. But because I was coming to Nigeria regularly, over a period of time, from 2002, I was coming to Nigeria regularly. I was doing my itinerant ministry then, where I was preaching in churches, in Lagos, in Abuja. So, I was coming to Nigeria very often. And the more I came, the more comfortable I got with being in Nigeria. So that once the time came to make the move, all the fear had gone. But at the bottom of it all was knowing that I was doing what God had told me to do.
Fantastic. So you knew what God had told you to do. You said you spoke with your sister, Kpoko and Woshika. By the way, for those who don't know, Kpoko and Woshika.
No, it's Daria Woshika.
Okay, Daria Woshika.
Daria Woshika, yes.
Daria Woshika. So for those who don't know that Woshika family, go and Google them. There's one Kpoko and Woshika right there that you should know. So you spoke with her and she said, okay, I can help. You spoke with Daria, and he said, I can help you get the license, and you came over. Let's fast track. You got the license, you got everything ready, you overcame the challenges with government parastatals and all the others, everything you needed to do, overcame the challenge with power, overcame with challenge with community development and all, everybody disturbing you because they didn't understand what you were going to do. Everybody doesn't have to understand your vision, because I could tell that at the time you came, it was just the state-owned radio station that was working in Warri. That was it, and it wasn't working well. It wasn't working 100. Let's say it wasn't working 100%, but it wasn't working when you came. So people didn't understand what, if you compare where you are now from where you started at that time, people did not understand that this is how this thing is going to go. So they were definitely oppositions. You overcame all of that. I want to fast track as a business person. After overcoming all of these things, which is what you must overcome, the next step is to get people to work for you. What was the major challenge in getting people? Remember I said, sir, when we were backstage, that you are one of the highest employers of intellectuals in Delta State today. I'm not saying this to please you, but I'm saying if you check out all the guys in Crown FM, Kpoko FM, the Zions, the Freshie, the Richards, the Flexi, everybody who is in their different spaces today worked with you there. How was it for you to get people with the right mentality to work for you?
Well, when I arrived in Warri, before the station started, I had the opportunity to meet with the then pastor of Winners Chapel in Warri, Pastor Abraham Ojeme. And he said, when the time comes for you to employ people, particularly your presenters, go for people who have never done it before. People who you can identify as having the talent, but who have never done it before. He said, because if you hire people who have done it before, you will have to deprogram them before you then reprogram them to do what you want them to do, as opposed to what they're used to doing. So he said, employ people who haven't done it before. So, when we started, I was bombarded with a lot of applications from people who were working for other radio stations, who heard this new radio station, who heard something they had never heard in Warri before, and who wanted to be part of it. But for me, once I saw that they had done it before, that was always an exclusion thing for me, that, okay, you've done it before. And one thing I also felt was that these people were working for radio stations already. And I felt it would be disloyal for them to just suddenly jump ship and come just because Crown FM is here. So I made it very clear, I'm not going to be part of you betraying somebody you've worked for all these years. You just suddenly turn your back on them because you want to come and work for me. So because of that, I didn't go for people who had done it before. I mostly sought out people who had never done it before, but who I knew had a passion, and people who were not money driven. People who really just had a passion to be on the radio, didn't care whether they got paid or not. And, it was easy for me to identify with those sorts of people, because when I started in England doing radio, I didn't care whether they paid me or not. I just wanted to be on the radio. So, it was easy to identify those sorts of people. And, there were quite a few of them who came in thinking, oh, gosh, I don't have any experience at all. Is this man going to take me? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to hire you. Do you think you can do it? Yes, I think I can do it. Come on in. I will give you a chance. And that's how we got everybody in.
So I want to talk about the people say you must not only have technical competence, but attitudinal excellence. You did not look at technical competence because you didn't want people who had worked before. You wanted people who had the right attitude, the ability to want to learn, and then you program, because you didn't need to deprogram. You programmed them with what you wanted in them, and they delivered. I think this for me, this is something that everyone who's watching here needs to learn tonight. It is not about, and that's why you see countries like the United States of America, they're not interested really in your certificate, but they test you on soft skills. If you have the soft skills that enable you to learn, and immediately, and they see that you are very receptive to new knowledge, they pick you, and that happens. So if you are employing, they just give us the trick to get the right people. If you get people who already know, they want to tell you how they have done it before, and they want to force you to do it the way they have always done it before. Get people with fresh minds, program. Then it brings me to the point, next question I'm going to ask you. The typical Warri person, the typical Niger Delta.
Okay.
The typical Niger Delta has the, I wouldn't call it the, I'm trying to look for a better word. I wouldn't call it they have this resilient, is that a good word? They have this hostile, okay, maybe that explains it a little better. The typical Niger Delta has this hostile attitude. I have seen what you have done with your people. I can feel that these guys have been pruned. These guys have been trained. What was it like after you got them, and how were you able to program them to this point? I know training was involved, but tell us more on how that was done.
Well, people came in not having done it before, so they were more willing to listen. They were more willing to learn. And it wasn't always easy, because there were times when I would go in the studio and really shout at them, out of real annoyance. But the reason why I did that was because I wanted them to understand, and I think that's why a lot of them tolerated it. I wanted them to understand that I could see where they could get to as broadcasters, and I could see some of the qualities they were demonstrating that would stop them from getting where I believe they could get to. And I was so angry because I was trying to eliminate those qualities so that they could get where I believe that they could get to. right? Now, once people understand that you are trying to help them, you find that they will be a lot more cooperative than when they think you're just shouting at them for the sheer sake of it. So, it was important to win their confidence over, for me to get them to understand that whatever I did, I was trying to do to help them to be everything that I believed that they could be. And once they understood that, it was pretty easy to mold them into what I wanted them to be, because they understood that I was doing it for their good, not necessarily mine.
And the Delta State government doesn't have a media training school or anything media, but Crown FM on its own, unknown to user, has become a broadcast training institute. Because I say that because you cannot go anywhere around the south of Nigeria today without finding someone who is coming out of the Crown FM family.
That's right.
I'm telling you because I have looked around. There's this guy, this black guy. I'm trying to remember his name now. He left and went to one of the sister stations in Ughelli, came back to the government station. I don't know where he is right now. I think he's with you guys.
Good Life.
Good Life, the spectacular.
Yes.
You
he's
crafted
in Port Harcourt now.
You crafted that young man. I love his voice, by the way, but you crafted him into something that everybody wanted. That's why I say you have the media training school in Deltas, unknown to you, sir. Good Life is there, Zion is there, Young Chief is there, Fresh Prince is there, Richard Bajimi is there, Rejoice is there, Onome is there, Big Boy Jennifer is there, Akbos is there,
Akbos.
I am MC Flexi, Baba Legushi is there. These guys who didn't have the, and in fact, somebody said something. I think I should throw it in here. Let's look at it together. He says, I noticed you started by employing staff with passion for broadcasting and not those who actually studied mass communication. Believe me, they are all actually doing great now, and we can all testify to that. I say this always. I said, if I have an opportunity to advise the Delta State government, this man sitting right here is a living legend. He deserves to be given, if they were giving state awards, he deserves to be given one. To start 3 media houses. 3, not 1, not 2, not 3 in Delta State in the space of a decade, in the space of 10 years. And they are all running fantastically. One thing you do not know, sir, that I have observed with you is that you start the project, build a system, get the people to feel the system, and you allow it to run. I know now that you are not here right now. You are talking to us from the United Kingdom. But Crown FM is running. Kpoko is running. Crown FM Asaba they are all running. Talk to us about building systems, sir.
Actually, I think the person who could really talk the best about that would be my wife. She said something to me once. She said, if you are the best person in the company, then the company is in serious trouble. And of course, I had learned that if you build everything up in such a way that it can't function without you, then the day you step out, everything collapses. I learned that more from her, but I also heard other people who had actually said the same thing, that, look, you can't build this thing around yourself, right? So it's a question of, employing people and trusting them with a degree of responsibility. Tell them to do it, teach them how to do it with them, step back and then let them do it. And then if they prove that they're faithful and they're capable, you leave them to run it.
Let me slow you down, sir.
Sure.
Teach them to do it, or which do you start with? Is it tell them to do it or teach them to do it? Show them how to do it.
Show them how to do it. Do it with them, and then
allow them do it.
Let them to do it on their own. Make all the corrections you need to make. When they've got it right, step back and let them carry on. Let them flourish. Let them grow.
I wish we have other leaders who would hear exactly what you're saying. The major problem of organizations, some of which that I've seen today, is that the organizations are built around the founders. So when they are not around, the organization suffers. And
That's
for
right.
many of these leaders, they are not building for posterity. I can say, sir, that many years after you are gone, Crown FM will remain. I can say it now. Many years after you have gone, children, grandchildren, this is the kind of company they will come and run because everything has been put in place. Systems are already there. You trust people enough to run those systems. One of the challenges we have with some of our leaders today is that there's really no trust. People don't trust people. How were you able to overcome this issue of trust, sir? Knowing
Well,
that
these
the
are
typical Niger Delta man is a resilient man, is hostile, he wants to get his way. How were you able to, handle the issue of trust?
first of all, I would give credit to Tayo Kotiebo because unknown to me, one of the things she prayed about at the very beginning was not just employees, but vision helpers. People who
Yes.
identify with the vision and who want to help with the progressing, with the advancing of the vision. And it just so happened that those were the sorts of people that God brought in from day one. People who, they were committed to the vision. It wasn't about just coming to earn a salary. It wasn't about coming to just do their own thing. They were committed to the vision of the station. Now, we identified the vision for Crown FM as a better Delta. And what we got were people who were really committed to the forging of a better Delta. So there wasn't really that much fear that, they're going to let you down because you can see that they're already committed to the vision. The first person that I employed was a lady called Ama Oneo. And she was the first person that I actually turned the station over to the first time I actually traveled to the UK. She had been with me for several months. I had the opportunity to observe her very well. Herself and Good Life, they were the first two who came in. I had identified them very well. And I knew that these were people who were very, very passionate. When I was not there, behind my back, they were very passionate in looking after my interests and looking after the interests of Crown. So, they kind of like set the template as to the kind of people that you want to employ. You study them very carefully. You watch them. You have discussions with them. You ask them all sorts of questions. They don't know that you are testing them out. But you ask them all sorts of questions. And from that, you can identify the kind of people that they are. And okay, these people have got my back. So if it's time for me to step back, I know that I can trust them. I got nothing to worry about. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but these were the thoughts that determined. But at the very beginning was the fact that Tayo Okotie-Eboh prayed for vision helpers. And once they came in, turning the station over to them was never going to be a problem.
But vision helpers can come and the leader is not able to identify them. You were able to identify that these ones have the spirit, have the charisma, have the character, and you were able to hand things over to them. It takes a good leader to be able to identify vision helpers.
Absolutely. But, by the time really that people started to come in, Tayo Okotie-Eboh was already on ground. And her input was very, very critical to us being able to identify and employ the right people. So, a lot of the credit goes, I think more of the credit goes to her than me, really, because she was somebody who had more experience. She's somebody who's had more experience of managing. So all she did was come into Nigeria with everything that she had learned from the UK. This is where we both learned our trade. She came in with everything that she learned from the UK. And, whether she employed the people directly or I was the one who employed them, her principles, her thoughts, her ideas were always critical to identifying the sort of people that we employ.
Fantastic. By the way, for those who don't know Tayo Okotie-Eboh, you need to go and watch the last 2 episodes of the program. Mrs. Tayo Okotie-Eboh is the boss lady in charge of the Crown FM family and his August lovely wife. She was here 2 weeks ago, and she's a money expert, a good management consultant, and we were excited having her. I'm sure if you watch the episode, you will definitely have lessons to learn from there. By the way, if you have questions, please kindly put the questions in the comment section. I see that somebody is already indicating that they have a question. Put it in the comment section, and we'll take the question. But before that question comes, sir, let's move on. You started Crown FM. You started running it. It won all the awards that needed to be won. It got all the accolades. Everybody, everything. It almost killed. Sorry that I'm saying that. It almost killed the state-owned station because everybody moved to Crown FM. One thing I liked about you from what I was watching, from my point of view, is that you selected what you wanted on the station. The typical Obito advert was not coming there. The typical church programs was not coming there. The typical things that we didn't like in the regular radio stations, you didn't have them there. And so you stayed aloof. Is it aloof now? You stayed on top of everything that was happening in the media industry. Sir, I'm sure you lost money in trying to say that I will not take this, I will not take this. This your program is not of quality. I won't take it. I'm sure you lost money. Talk to us
Yes, we
about it
did.
because a lot of young business people need. It's not every project you take. It's not every business you do. There are some people who come to you for business. You tell them, oh, look, for now, I wouldn't take this. Talk to us about that, sir.
Okay. The thing is that critical to the success of any business is your identification of your core values. You know your standards, you know what you stand for, you know what you will tolerate, and you know what you can't take. You put
Mm.
systems in place and you ensure that your customers know that these are the systems, these are the standards you have in place, and that they are willing to adhere to those standards. If they're not, then you have to let them go, because if you don't, they will drag you down. And then when you're finished, they will
True.
go away and say, you see, I told you it wouldn't last. Yet they will not remember that they were the ones who contributed to your coming down. So,
True.
it was a case of letting people know that, look, these are our standards. Now, in the process, there were some people who left. I mean, one of the things that we often said was, look, give us for ministries that bring on their radio programs. And a lot of them wanted to come on board because they could see that we were consistent and that we would play their programs when we said we're going to play their programs. So they trusted us and they came in. We were flooded with quite a lot of people who wanted their programs to be on our station, and we were grateful to God for that. But there were some, and at a point we had to say to them, look, give us at least 48 hours before 48 hours before your CD is supposed to go on air. So that way, if there are any problems with the CD, we're not hearing it on air. We
Mm.
hear it long before it's due to go on, and then we have plenty of time to say to you, there's a problem with this CD, can you
Correct
please give
this.
us another one? Right? So, and not everybody always cooperated with that. There were some people sometimes who would come in like 1 hour. There was a ministry that came in one Saturday morning. The program was supposed to go out at 8 o'clock, and they were banging on our gate at about 10 minutes to 8. And I said to the gate man, don't answer. So, eventually I said, okay, bring it. But I spoke to the pastor and I said, please don't let this happen again. There is a reason why we put these things in place. It is not to cramp your style. It's to ensure that we give you the best quality service. And we can't
True.
do it if we're doing lastminute.com. He said, yeah, no problem. The following Saturday, same thing
You
happened.
did the
10
same.
minutes to 8, bang, 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 bang on my gate. And I told the gate man, do not answer. The pastor called me. I didn't take his call because I knew what he was trying to do was leverage on the direct relationship to try to use me to get around systems that I put in place for the prosperity of the station. He walked away because of that. And I made no apologies. And I actually had to go on the radio and say, if you are in business, you have to have your standards. And you have to be willing to let some people go, because if you don't let them go, they will
True.
drag you down. And,
True.
so yeah, there were people that we lost. But at the end of the day, those who understood what we were doing and who understood why we were doing it, they cooperated. And the ones who just didn't feel they could rise up to our standards, they left, and we wish them the very best wherever they went.
Exactly, sir. And this comment just resonates with what you said. She said, stick to your values and your audience will come. I can tell
Absolutely.
today that the audience of Crown FM, they are already here. We have a question, but I want to go to Madame quickly. Madame says, I love it when people say nice things about me. Yes. I we
They, they,
love
they,
we love
they, they are nice and they're true.
and we love to say nice things about you. And she also said the guy is giving out golden nuggets, so we should charge for this. Are you hearing? Those of us watching, we should
I
charge
know,
you
I
for
know,
this.
I know I'm talking myself into a lot of trouble right now.
But anyhow, we will talk behind the scene and see how we can begin to actually, charge for this. There's a question, sir. Let me see if I can get it. All right. It says, sir, how did you create the system that makes your company run smoothly? How do you manage the costs too? I know in broadcasting, one of the major costs is the cost of power because our power system is failed. You have to run generator 24/7 because radio station, it must run. There must be power. Many of us have forgotten that there were the times when they would take the light and they would put that thing on our screen to say, stay tuned, power is gone off. How many of us remember? Or the radio station would just go off and make woo, and in another. because of stations like Crown FM, we are forgetting that that time existed. But I'm telling you, I'm old enough to know that that existed. So, sir, how are you able to manage costs?
These really are questions for Tyre, not for me. I mean, my specialty has always been programming. Costs, that was her. Now, that was critically important because everybody in the station knows me as Oga, and they will always do whatever I say. Whether it's good or not, they will always do it. So we needed somebody there who I can say, this is what I think we should do, and who would say, actually, no, not necessarily. And in Tayo, we had that. In Tayo, we've always had that. Somebody who can look me in the eye and say, Ben, we are not doing this. And I can scream and throw my toys out of the pram and sulk and do all the rest of it. And she says, no, we're not doing it. And thank God for the grace to be able to cooperate with her, to know that, okay, at the end of the day, she's not doing it for herself. She's doing it in the best interest of the company. Now, a lot of the systems, practically all of the systems that are responsible for the smooth running of Crown FM today, they're all systems put in place by Media Mogul. But if I say I put this system together and I did this and that's why it's working, I'd simply be stealing somebody else's glory. She's the one who did all that. I'm just the person who's at the front. But really, systems and structures, she put all of them in place, not me.
Fantastic. We'll give all the credits. Madam was still saying nice things about you, so I'm sure she's sharing the nice things we're saying about her. We might need to bring her again to come and talk about systems and structures. Carol Ballo says standards and business ethics are so important, particularly in an environment where anything goes, especially our environment. Especially our environment where anything goes.
Yes, you see, the problem there ahead, with the problem there with the anything goes is that sometimes people don't have enough confidence in their products to be able to walk away from certain people, and because of financial pressure, it's easy to criticize people and say anything goes. But when you are under pressure to keep a business running, you know those pressures will sometimes drag you to the point where you are ready to take anything because you don't know how you're going to sustain yourself from today until tomorrow, until next week. So that pressure sometimes will make you take anything, especially when you are dealing with customers who are telling you it's our money that is keeping you in business.
True.
You know, so it can be very easy to get to that place where practically anything goes. But you just have to have the grace, and you just have to have the strength from God to be able to say, look, as much as I need this money, I cannot take it because taking this money simply means that yes, it may sustain me today, but long term, it's going to bring me down. But you know, the anything goes thing really is just, it's pressure. And a lot of people can criticize those who say, oh, that person takes anything. But you don't know the pressure that people are under running a business. And it's not always easy to walk away from money as some people think it should be.
Yes, it's not always very easy to walk away from money. I can agree with you to that, sir. Finally, I need to go let you rest tonight. But finally, the question I'm going to ask is, how did you know and when did you know that you needed to pivot from Crown to Kpoko? You had dominated that space. When was it? When did you know that, look, now is the time to go pigeon? And what brought the idea in the first place?
Okay, there were two sources to this. There was my idea and then there was Tayo, right? We both got revelations at different times. Now, for my part, I was in church one Sunday morning. I didn't get to church on time, so I was sitting at the back. And where I was sitting, I could hear somebody else talking while the word was being preached. I could hear somebody else talking. So eventually I had to turn around. And I realized that this person was actually translating the word as it was going out. This person was translating it into pidgin. And there were people who were sitting there who were receiving the word in pidgin. So when I saw that, I thought, I wonder how many people. Crown FM has a very clearly defined message, but I wonder how many people we are not reaching because we're putting it out in English. The fact that this is going on behind me tells me that clearly there is a need. There are a lot of people that we can also reach in pidgin English who we might not be able to reach right now because we're speaking a language that they don't necessarily understand. So the idea started from there. And then it just so happened that one day Tayo was praying in the kitchen. And she was praying, I think she was praying in tongues. And then I think God dropped the idea in her mind that, start a pigeon station. And I think she said, okay, if this is you, Lord, when I speak to my husband about it, let him agree. Now, the idea was already in my mind, but she was the one who actually verbalized it. And then came to me and said, I really believe that God is saying we should start a pigeon station. What do you think of the idea? And I said, absolutely, let's go for it. And I just walked away. I didn't say anything. We didn't have a discussion. I just said, yeah, absolutely, let's go for it. And that was that. So then she knew, okay, this is of God. Now, one of the most important things that I think needs to be emphasized is that unlike Crown, which started with just me, Kpoko was a completely different thing. Kpoko, we sat down and we discussed and we planned. We discussed the program structure. We discussed how many hours each program is going to be, what's going to be the format for each program, what's going to be the title of each program, what each program is going to, we discussed everything and planned it very, very carefully. And as we were putting this in place, we knew the people that we were going to put in each program. So, this was something we sat down and planned very, very carefully. And to God be the glory, it's really, really worked.
So as at Kpoko, you already had a team. Yes. If you are listening in between the lines to what the big boss has been saying, he always said at this point of speaking in tongues, Crown FM came. At the point of speaking in tongues in the kitchen with Madame, Kpoko FM came. So guys, if you need to get into business and start the foundation right, if you never sabi they speak tongues and you never sabi enter spirits, you have not started yet. I always tell people at my trainings that the main thing that starts off a man is the place of the spirit. The place of the spirit is very important in starting a business and doing anything. And you just buttress that point with all the things you said right now about how...
The Bible says as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God. So there you go.
Says it all. Says I don't need to say anything about that anymore. Yes, let me take this comment by MC Dave. It says, about organizational structure, I have worked in a radio station before, but joining the Crown FM family is like I'm starting radio from the scratch. Honestly, I have and I am still learning more. I can agree. When you build systems, it's always like that. Yes, so I think I've taken all the comments and all, and questions. I don't seem to have any more questions. The program is supposed to be for 30 minutes. We have run it for 45 minutes, and it seems like we've just started. But I need to go let the big boss rest because I think he's taking time off in the UK right now, resting. By the way, I asked Madame how the company fared during COVID. I want to ask you your own opinion. How did you fare during COVID?
Even before COVID, we had the recession in 2015, 2016. And what I took away from that time was one simple statement: God is faithful. I had learned from Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo that God always pays for whatever he ordered. Now, the recession, nobody saw that coming. That took me by surprise. And I can remember the many, many nights when I would be in my bed praying to God that, God, it is coming up to time to pay the salaries. You said that a laborer is worthy of his reward. You said we must not muzzle the ox that treads the corn. You said you supply all our need according to your riches and glory by Christ Jesus. I'm not asking money for me. I'm asking for money so that these people can be paid. I mean, I will be there 3 o'clock in the night. I will be praying and praying and praying in my bed. God, please give us the money to be able to pay these people. And every single time without fail, the money would always come.
Boom, it comes out.
So, absolutely. So, after a while, it got to the point where I didn't bother praying anymore because I just knew that I knew God is faithful. And as long as this enterprise was one that he ordained, he will always pay for it. So whatever you need, it will always come. It may not come when you want it, but it will always be there on time.
It's always on time.
So, yes, exactly. So that took us through the recession. So when COVID came and everything was closing down, I knew in my heart that this is not a time for people to struggle. This is a time to know who your source is. And for us, the source has always been God. And because Tayo and I discussed a lot of things. We discussed, should we send people home? Should we reduce people? And I said, no, we should not do that. Because at the end of the day, COVID does not stop God from doing whatever he wants to do. True. God is not so, you can lock everything down, but you cannot lock God down. And as long as God is our source, COVID or no COVID will be okay. And that's exactly what happened. The first month, a lot of the money that we needed for salaries was already in place before COVID started. So that by the time we went into COVID, there was nothing to worry about. And, When all the advertisers were not coming in, there were so many different ways, so many ministries who came in who did things that they'd never done with us before, that brought in all the money that we needed. But at the end of it all was always knowing God is faithful. And during COVID, he proved his faithfulness. But all of this comes down to the fact that God always pays for whatever he ordered.
Exactly.
So if you're ever going to do anything, you must make sure that you know, not that somebody gave you a prophecy. This is God ministering directly to you that this is something I want you to do. As long as that is the foundation, you'll be okay. It doesn't make any difference what happens.
Kpoko Kings captures it properly. It says God always pays for whatever he orders. I want to let you go.
We are living witnesses of that.
Exactly. I want to let you go, but before I let you go, what's your final word for that young person who's working, who's thinking, I need to start something, who during the COVID didn't have something doing because the company said stay at home for a while, who is in a business and is having challenges in that business? What's your word of advice to young people watching right now? Because Nigeria has a large population of working class young people who are not adequately engaged. I say adequately because they might be engaged, but not, in line with what they are qualified for. What would be your advice to all of them?
The Bible says anyone who comes to God must come believing that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently, not just those who seek him, those who diligently seek him. Sometimes some of the crises that you are going through are crises you go through because God is actually trying to get your attention, because there is something God wants to say to you. So at the beginning, the first thing you have to do is go to God. I learned that from Tayo, because even during our courtship, there was a time when there was somebody who was trying to split us up, who was trying to make you two should not be together. After she had prayed and heard from God herself, somebody now comes along and says, I don't think this is right. And the first thing she did was go to God and say, God, what are you saying? And God said, yeah, I'm behind this. So, she was able to continue, right? And what I learned from that was the importance of you being able to hear from God directly yourself. Anybody can come and tell you God said, and they got it wrong. God never said anything of the sort. So whatever you are going through, it is critically important that you must always seek the face of God. What is God saying to you in the midst of this? Sometimes crisis means a change of direction. Sometimes crisis could mean so many different things. You're not going through it because God couldn't help it and there was nothing he could do to stop it. He let you go through it for a reason. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is always make sure that you know what God is saying to you. In the midst of anything you are doing, in the midst of whatever you're going through, always make sure you know what God is saying to you. You go through this, be very, very careful who you allow to speak into your life. Because people will take some of what you're saying, some of what you're going through, and they will make it like it is the devil who is dealing with you directly himself, and the devil had nothing to do with it. So in the beginning, always seek God. That is what I would say. Always seek God. Learn to hear from God yourself. Don't depend on people to tell you what God said, because sometimes people will use it to manipulate you to do what they want you to do. Always seek God. As long as you are hearing directly from God, there is nothing you go through that you will not come out on the other side with the testimony. You will always come out with the testimony. Seek God.
I like the point where we are ending. Know God for yourself. If you allow my brother here, Favor Genegoma, to speak, he will tell you that I have been an advocate for that since the COVID came. Pre-COVID, we had believed a lot of things. But once the COVID came, we all had a chance to sit down and look back at where we are. And I realized this thing you just said. Know God for yourself. Never let anyone manipulate you. That would be a good point to end tonight with the big boss. I want to say thank you to you, sir. If you had enjoyed tonight, please put it in the comment section wherever you're watching and say thank you to the big boss. You see his smile. I love that smile. And that voice, something else. Thank you for all the insights you have shared with us tonight. And thank you for deciding to come into Delta State. You could have gone to Lagos. You could have gone to Abuja when you returned from the UK, but you decided to come into Warri. That's not a mean feat, where you just leave everything and leave all the good juicy places and come into the desert.
We were just following God. It was what God told us to do. If we had gone to Lagos, we would have failed. We would have failed spectacularly. We are simply where God told us to be. That's the crunch.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. I'm going to take some thank you comments. Sandra Jacob said thank you
for having me.
Sandra is watching from the UK. She says thank you, sir. Kpoko King said thank you so much, boss. Yes, that's Baba Elegushi. Yes. Andrew Logo said today's session sweet. Well. I can agree. The Madam of the Madams says, let me put a comment there. It says, thank you, Oga. Oga, Madam is saying thank you to you on behalf of us.
And I'm
So
saying thank you to her on behalf of all of us too, because without her management skills, we would not be here today.
True. Higher and higher we go. In fact, if you enjoy this session, and let's do it the way they do it on the station. Put Kpoko for you. Put it there. Put Kpoko for you in the comment section. Let's have the Kpoko, so we know
Kpoko
we
for you
are.
too.
Yes, Kpoko for you, sir. Kpoko for Madam. Kpoko for to everyone who is representing and who are doing well, and the young men who you have trained that are doing so well, working in your stations, even in your absence. Hey, somebody has remembered that you are a big time Chelsea fan. Daniel says, thank you, Chelsea. Yes, I wasn't going to mention that, but
no,
Daniel.
I would have been very offended if you didn't mention Chelsea.
Oh, really? Thank God that Daniel has done that now. All right.
Thank you, Daniel.
Kpoko for you. Richard Wanje says Kpoko for you. Andrew says Kpoko for you. Chuka says Kpoko. Yes, I like that. More of that. Jennifer, Daniel again says Kpoko for you. All right. And my friend from the United States of America says Kpoko for you. We were in university when your station started. So we used to listen to you in university. My friend and who's in the US now. All right. This is to say big thank you to you, sir, for coming. We truly do appreciate.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this platform. I appreciate this opportunity. I want to seize the opportunity to credit you for what you're doing, because you don't know, but I'm actually learning a lot from you, Segun. You don't know it, but I'm I see the programs you put together. I see the kinds of things you discuss, and I know that these are programs that will play a vitally important part, really, towards Delta being a better place. So kudos to you for programs like this as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for giving us your time tonight. We do not take it for granted. I want to let you go rest. Do have a wonderful night, sir.
Thank you.
We look forward to having you again.
It'll be my pleasure. Thank you.
All right, sir. Good night. So that's been the big boss of Crown Kpoko and Crown Asaba, and I'm sure you enjoyed having him tonight. It's been a wonderful night. I really can't explain my excitement, but you can see it all over me. It was a wonderful show tonight. I want to thank you again, everyone who joined watching. Thank you for joining. I do appreciate you. I look forward to having you next Tuesday night, where we'll have another wonderful guest. If I tell you who's coming next, you wouldn't want to miss it. Don't worry, you see the flyer. By the way, if you have not registered on our list, our mailing list, go there now and register at this link on the screen right now, bit.ly/register CWS. CWS is Conversation with Segun. Register there, and you can get messages directly from us, and we'll let you know who's coming and when it's coming. And also, when there are gifts and freebies, you will also hear. I see that more comments are coming. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Everybody saying Segun, thank you. Well done. On my blessing. God bless you for all you do, sir. Thank you. All right, so let me leave you guys to have a wonderful night. Please, if you have not already subscribed to this channel and you're on YouTube, please, Onome, you have not subscribed to the channel right now. Everybody else who have not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 2,000. We just got to 1,000. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video with your friends, with your loved ones, with people who hate you, people who you don't like. Share the video with them. Let them know that this is good. But by the way, you first subscribe. If you've not followed my channel, my page on Facebook, if you're watching from there, please do follow the page and do have a lovely night. I love you all. God bless you.